Hi guys, my name is Megan and today I've got my September wrap up for you. Alright, so September has been a particularly good reading month. I did have one DNF and another book that I did think about DNFing, but I haven't yet. So let's go ahead and just dive into everything that I read this month. Alright, so first up, I finished Cemetery Boys. This blew me away, and I know I'm really super late to the party on this book, but oh my god, this was amazing, and it's one that I would highly recommend. The storytelling blew me away, the setting blew me away, just everything about this was fantastic. And if you're looking for something to get into for October or Halloween or for Dia de Muertos, this is a perfect read for you. This got 5 out of 5 stars and I would highly recommend. Next up, I finished In Repair. This is one of my favorite books that I think I've read all year long. This was just so... I don't even know how to describe it. I almost cried over this book a couple of different times. This is one that I feel like should be required reading for books about mental health, especially in boys and men. And yeah, this just was fantastic. This got 5 out of 5 stars. Would highly recommend. This is honestly one of my top favorite books of the year. Maybe even top, like, #1 favorite. I don't know yet. But, like, goddamn, this book was so good. And it's one that you should definitely read. Next up, I finished I'm Not Your Pet. This was such a sweet monster alien romance. This just came out of left field for me, and it was so good. The sweetness in this was really fun, but also like traveling between planets, learning new languages, trying to communicate when you don't understand an alien language. This was so good, and like it's super long. It's almost 400 pages, a little over 400, I think. This got 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I would highly recommend if you're looking for an alien romance or a monster romance for going into Halloween. This is one to check out. Next up, I had a DNF, and that was The Wicker King. This one I got just under 100 pages in, and I really didn't like the way that things were going in this. It's not to say this is a bad book. For my own reasons, I just didn't like the way that the characters' mental health was treated and the way that they were sliding downhill quickly without anybody to stop them. Or the main character, August, was enabling his friend Jack in his mental illness and not getting him help. But also that August had to be a parental figure for his entire friend group. And for Jack in particular, he was almost his dad / best friend. Like, he was taking on that kind of a caretaker role for him. Really didn't like that, and the parentification of that and the parentification of himself. He was basically raising himself because one parent just left, the other was just kind of mentally not there. And this one I DNF'd, but I think this is a really interesting take on mental health and dealing with mental health on your own. So I would recommend this for that, but like this was just not for me. Next up, I finished Wild Beast Forest House Volume 1. This was really sweet and just like unexpected and just so soft and sweet in like the most unexpected way. And this one is definitely for older teens, maybe like 16 and up. This one doesn't have any smut in it, but just it's got some suggestive scenes in it. Just be aware. But this was super soft and sweet and just cozy. This got 4 to 5 stars, and I would highly recommend it, and I'm very much looking forward to the next volume. Next up, I finished Dims. This was a really fun baseball romance following 2 single dads who had a little bit of an experimentation with each other in college and then didn't speak to each other for like 15, almost 20 years until they end up back in each other's lives after they've both been divorced and have kids. And like they kind of start rekindling a romance, and it's so sweet and just heart-melting. This got 4 to 5 stars, and highly recommend if you're looking for like a little steamy baseball romance. And then the last book that I finished for this month was Fangs Volume 3, and oh my god, this almost broke my brain. There was so much plot happening in this, and like I am so here for all of the things that this volume in particular just spewed all over my brain, because there are so much plot points happening and like background information and like actual information about how the vampires came to be in this universe. And we also got to see some background for each one of the main characters. And we also got to meet In's creator, person who left him as the only survivor of a mass killing of humans, and he turned him into a vampire. So really interesting, and this got 5 out of 5 stars, and I desperately need volume 4 in my hands like yesterday. Alright, and then we are on to the books I'm currently reading as of filming this video. First of which is One Has to Die. This is the 3rd book in the Branches of Past and Future series. This is so good so far. I'm about 40% of the way through it, and Dorian and Milo just hit all the right buttons, and I love Dorian's angst over being a teacher and just trying to make sure his students aren't assholes, but also like they can survive doing their magical careers later in life. And then Milo just being Milo. This one is so good so far. The other book that I'm currently reading as of filming this video is some rom-com. This is a new Olivia Dade book. It's the first in the Supernatural Entanglement series. This feels a little disappointing to me because this is definitely an urban fantasy world where zombies have been created and they've been contained after an outbreak. So there's a containment zone where people are still living in there, but also like the zombies are contained in the middle but by a very tall wall, a moat, and then there's a couple more walls and moats, you know, to try to protect the rest of the population from zombies, but people can still live within these different little zones that are protected by different walls. And Edie, our main character, lives within one of those zones, and her neighbor, who she thought was human, turns out to be a vampire, and they end up stuck together while they're trying to fight off some zombies, and they fall in love as they're going about trying to protect the other citizens that live within the containment zone from these zombies. So this one is a bit disappointing because the pacing, like for me, the pacing is off. So pacing in this book feels very much perfect if this was a contemporary romance, no zombies, no supernatural creatures, no vampires. If this was just a regular contemporary romance novel, the pacing would be perfect. But this is an urban fantasy and like with an active zombie outbreak, and I feel like there's no urgency within the plot. There's just a lot of walking around doing nothing, talking to people, walking back and forth, you know, and for a solid first half of the book, that's kind of what's been happening, and it's just kind of really disappointing because I feel like an urban fantasy should have a little bit more pick up and go, especially if there's something like a zombie outbreak. So this one, it's heading for maybe a 3 stars, which is kind of disappointing. Also, the cover glows in the dark, which is really cool. So those are the things I read this month. Definitely have a couple of contenders for favorite book of the year. You know, DNF, and one that's kind of just disappointing. Definitely my favorite book of the month was In Repair, oh my god, and Cemetery Boys. Those just blew my mind. What was your guys' favorite read this month? Let me know down below. If you guys like this video, don't forget the like button. If you haven't already but would like to, go and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to follow me on social media for more bookish stuff, check out the links down below. Alrighty, bye guys.